Staff member Melvin, if you can give me the okay.
Yes, Staff member Melvin, yes, we are recording and ready to go. Staff member Davis, can you hear us okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Board member Doyle, we left off about to begin package C3, so I defer back to staff member Davis to orient us through that package.
Okay. This is the long-awaited revision. This is item C3. It's a policy discussion concerning CPAs and CDTM. So this is the board's first review of updated language after we had a work group for this that was held in May 2023. I just want to also say we've been communicating with the Oregon Medical Board, and they intend to review their rules that go with ours once we make updates and make reciprocal changes to their rules as necessary. So we've been emailing back and forth, and they're aware that the board was planning to discuss this topic today. So again, this rule revision is part of our strategic plan to systematically update and refresh rules. At this meeting, the board will consider sending the proposed rules to November rulemaking hearing and potentially adopt in December to be effective with all the other licensee packages on 3/1/2024. Of course, if board staff have not gotten the revisions right, you can always ask for us to rework these and bring you a new review at the December board meeting to go to January rulemaking hearing, adopt in February, and be effective with the other licensee packages. So just to orient you, yellow highlight indicates a change to the package since it was noticed for the August board meeting, which there are very few if minimal changes. But the markup in this package is in comparison to the current rules in Division 6 and in Division 19. So first, we're going to talk about two definitions that currently reside in Division 6 and 855.006.0005. These are a little bit of changes from the last time before we had the work group. So in paren 9, the clinical pharmacy agreement means an agreement between a pharmacist or pharmacy and a healthcare organization or a physician as defined in ORS 677.010 or a naturopathic physician as defined in 685.010 that permits the pharmacist to engage in the practice of clinical pharmacy as defined in ORS 689.005 for the benefit of the patients of the healthcare organization or physician or naturopathic physician. We have added the phrase or as defined in 689.005 per work group suggestion. They thought it would be more helpful to reference that there is an actual definition for the practice of clinical pharmacy in our statutes. In paren 10, collaborative drug therapy management means the process in which a pharmacist or pharmacy and a healthcare provider or group of healthcare providers agree to a pre-specified drug therapy management protocol that is initiated for an individual patient on the prescription or prescription drug order of a participating provider. Again, we've reworked this definition to clarify that CDTM is based on a protocol that permits a pharmacist to manage drug therapy, such as anticoagulants or antibiotics, that results in a prescription or prescriptions when authorized by a participating provider acting in the usual course of their practice for an individual patient. So those are the two kind of working definitions that we build all the language in the rule against. 855.115.0315 is the rule. So this is services, pharmacist services, and this is clinical pharmacy agreement and collaborative drug therapy management. So paren 1 is about CPAs, and CPAs, as a reminder, are defined under law under ORS 689.005. Paren 4 states that a clinical pharmacy agreement, I'm not going to read it again, it's essentially the language that I just read. A CPA is based on statutory authority, It is broader than a CDTM and can be activated by prescribers as listed in the law by an order for a cohort or panel of patients. So this might be something like diabetes management per pharmacy protocol for diabetes, or heart failure management per pharmacy protocol for CHF. And the testimony for the bill that created the definition of a CPA, one person testified that they think it would be prudent to initially limit this to protocols written by a physician, and that it would be mainly as a means to build confidence in the community and amongst other practitioners, and then look at perhaps nurse practitioners and PAs down the road. So just wanted to give you a little context there. So in paren 1, the proposed language, a pharmacist or pharmacy may engage in the practice of clinical pharmacy under a written clinical pharmacy agreement with a healthcare organization, physician, or naturopathic physician. So the work group discussed this at length and provided feedback that the definition in law needs to be changed by adding nurse practitioner and physician assistant. Board staff have talked with the Board of Nursing and the Board of Medicine, who have both indicated support of a bill, even possibly for the upcoming 2024 short session to expand this language. They were very, they wanted more access, and they felt that the language in the law as currently written is limiting access, and they were supportive of maybe potentially getting that change. But for now, we have to write rules to the law that we have. So paren 2, if the agreement in paren 1 is made with a healthcare organization, the organization is responsible for ensuring that each protocol utilized by a pharmacist or pharmacy to provide clinical pharmacy services is A, developed and overseen by a physician or naturopathic physician acting within their scope. Paren B is reviewed by each participating healthcare provider. And paren C does not allow any act that is prohibited in ORS 475, 689, and OAR 855. So based on work group feedback, the board staff have reframed the CPA rule to be less specific about the agreement and have moved that specificity to the requirements on the protocol that is utilized under the agreement. And we just made a really small grammatical change since the last mailing in paren C to say does not instead of cannot. Paren 3, so each protocol developed under the agreement in paren 1 must include the name of a principal pharmacist and principal physician or naturopathic physician who is responsible for paren A, initial training and ongoing competency assessment for participating pharmacists if necessary. Paren B, development, quality assurance, and updating or discontinuing the protocol. Paren b, the identification either by name or by description of each participating pharmacist. Paren C, the identification either by name or description of each participating physician, naturopathic physician, or healthcare providers within a healthcare organization. These persons must have scope to independently treat patients. Paren D, the disease state or patient panel for which the pharmacist may provide clinical pharmacy services. Paren E, the types of clinical pharmacy services provided. And paren F, circumstances that require communication from the participating pharmacist to the patient's physician, naturopathic physician, or healthcare provider within a healthcare organization. Concerning paren A, information collected. Paren B, patient assessment. Paren C, plan of care, including follow-up. Paren D, services provided. Paren E, circumstances requiring urgent communication with the patient's healthcare provider. And paren G, training requirement for pharmacist participation and ongoing assessment of competency if necessary. So I'm going to stop here. This is the rules for the CPAs. Paren 4 starts to talk about CDTM, and I want to keep that as two separate conversations. So back to you, President Doyle.
Board Member Doyle, my understanding is we're taking comment now on everything mentioned from line 1 to line 110. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes, okay. I think I left off with, board member Joyce going first, next. Okay, board member Joyce, please.
Board Member Joyce, I appreciate the subject matter experts that participated in the RAC. This was an education for me as well. It's very detailed, and I do look forward to adding the NP and PA for future rulemaking. It looks good. Again, it's very detailed. I like it.
Member Zipperman,
Member Bipperman, I echo Board Member Joyce's comments and I wait for comment.
member Evans,
No comment.
member Beeman,
Okay, Beeman, I have no comment for this time.
member Patel.
This board member Patel. Just want to do a couple of clarification. The last time my turn was not open because I passed my comment. So it was not, your Robin roll of round was not over because in the first time, I didn't even make a comment. I passed. Second, not only this organization, every organization, we always advocate for, diversity, equity and inclusion, but sometimes we don't even know what that means. And I did feel discrimination in this agency. Again and again. We do experience a discrimination every time, whether it's your sex, whether it's your gender, your age, your race, your accent, but think about the person who has everything. And I'm going to let you know, I'm not going to let anyone bully me, but I'm not going to tolerate discrimination. That said, I'm going to leave.
Can you make an
Thank you.
Board member Doyle, I do not have any further comments, with regard to the text, that's substantive. I did have, a clerical, issue on line 86, the last word of para F being concerning. I had some difficulties, understanding how that was in the flow of the words, but I don't want to afford any time on addressing that at this time. Board member Chin,
Board Member Chin appreciates the reach out to Board of Medicine, Board of Nursing about someone initiating legislation to expand providers allowed to do this. And the only notice grammatically that there was pharmacy, but I'm sure somebody else put that.
Uh-oh, what line? Did I miss it? Sorry, staff member Melvin, do you know what line where you saw that? Sorry, did I miss it? Pharmacy.
It's important for somebody else to pick it up.
member Hall,
Board members. Comments.
member Joyce. Well, I'm sorry. So pausing for a moment, any other further comments, questions, concerns, that have come up since the round robin? Seeing none, I ask, staff member Davis to continue.
Staff member Davis, on line 86, I actually did have substitution language there. So instead of concerning, putting such as.
That better?
Pause for a moment for the board to look at the new language and see if there's any concerns. I'm seeing nodding heads as okay and thumbs up, so we will keep that change and move forward with CDTM. Staff member Davis.
Staff member Davis. Paren 4 is about CDTMs. So as we know, CDTM is based on a concept that is a pre-agreed upon prescription order, or otherwise known as a protocol, that is activated by the prescriber by an order for an individual patient. So they might write something like heparin per pharmacy protocol for DVT or vancomycin per pharmacy protocol for sepsis. The work group indicated that they would like to see specific language about CDTMs in the rule and did not want it combined with CPAs. So we have left it as separate language. And paren 4, a pharmacist may engage in collaborative drug therapy management under a written protocol with a healthcare provider who is acting within their scope. Paren 5, each protocol developed under the agreement in paren 4 must include paren A, the name of the principal pharmacist and healthcare provider who are responsible for, and before I continue, this is not limited to a physician, NP, or healthcare provider from a healthcare organization. A CDTM is part of a prescription that is written in advance in the form of a protocol. Any person or persons with prescribing in their scope can sign a CDTM protocol with a pharmacist or a group of pharmacists to become part of a future prescription. Paren A, initial training and ongoing competency assessment for participating pharmacists if necessary. And paren B, development, quality assurance, and updating or discontinuance of each protocol. Little b, the identification either by name or description of each participating pharmacist. Paren C, the identification by name or description of each of the participating healthcare provider, of each participating healthcare provider or group of healthcare providers. I think there's a typo. Yeah, thank you. And then striking paren C and D, and then the new paren D has a detailed description of the A, indications, B, drugs, including dosage, frequency, duration, and route of administration, C, methods, D, procedures, E, decision criteria, and F, plan the pharmacist is to follow. Then little f, documentation the pharmacist is to complete concerning actions taken and a plan or appropriate mechanism for communication, feedback, and reporting to the healthcare provider concerning specific actions taken. We've changed decisions made to actions taken as the pharmacist is to follow the protocol using the decision criteria and follow the plan that is outlined in the protocol. Paren G, circumstances that will cause the pharmacist to initiate communication with the healthcare provider. Paren E, training requirement for pharmacist participation and ongoing competency assessment or assessment of competency if necessary. And then we struck old paren F and G. You'll see them come up later here. And then let me see here. We'll go ahead and finish and then we'll take comment. Paren 6, each protocol developed in 1, which is CPAs, and 4, which is CDTMs, must be reviewed and updated or discontinued at least every 2 years. Paren 7, the pharmacist must document the protocol version and all clinical pharmacy activities in the prescription record patient profile, electronic health record, or some other appropriate system. We added the protocol version. This was suggested by the work group. It appears that this is now a joint commission thing that they're looking for as well, but it also would be very helpful in the patient record to know which protocol version was utilized in order for the pharmacist to follow the decision tree and enact the plan. Paren 8, records and documents must be retained according to OAR 855-104-0055, and that's the universal record keeping rule that becomes effective in March. And with that, I conclude the rule. Back to you, President Doyle.
Board Member Doyle, in your last explanation, I believe, of para 7 on line 173, your telecommunication cut out there for a couple of seconds, and I don't think the room fully understood your explanation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so the work group actually suggested that we add the protocol version into the rule in paren 7, because that way it's very clear what protocol and which version the pharmacist was following when they followed the plan and made the decisions as part of the plan. They also indicated that this is something that the Joint Commission has been surveying on and making notations about if they were documenting the protocol version or not. And they felt that that was in the best interest of patient safety.
Thank you very much. We'll review package from CDPTM forward, and Board Member Vipperman, is it correct you're first?
Board Member Bipperman. I did not, this is not my specialty, so I'm hoping that, so I'm relying on the experts to give us good documentation. My only comment in this is about the records and documents. And then it just said records and documents must, and it stopped. But then I noticed way down here on 177, it says retain according to OAR 855-104-0055. Is that the regular, I beg your pardon, but is that the regular records time for everything? Okay, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that was, this is not a special one. This is something that is retained. Thank you very much. I have my answer, and that was my only comment. Thank you.
Member Hemmons?
This board member Hemmings, I don't necessarily have a comment about this, but I'm just not familiar with the protocols here, being it was my first time on this board, but Board Member Patel made a statement and we just kind of went on like nothing happened. And I know we have business to take care of. I'm just wondering, like, is that the norm? How we handle situations like that? I'm asking because I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that something did not happen.
The
I
staff
want to
member Schnabel.
acknowledge that.
Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. This is
Staff member Schnabel?
Yes, staff member Schnabel. That is not a usual situation. We're in a public meeting. And when an individual member makes a statement on the record, it's part of the record. We have business to complete. There's really nothing that we can do to remedy the situation that was alleged at this point. And we will do appropriate follow-up after the meeting. So I don't know if you have a suggestion as to what we need to do at this point, but there, you know, this is something that is not typical. So we don't have a playbook on this.
Thank you for that. I just want to make sure that was acknowledged. And I appreciate hearing that there will be follow-up, but I just didn't feel comfortable just having that happen and we just pretend like nothing happened. So I appreciate hearing that there will be follow-up, and I do recognize that this is a public meeting. Thank you.
Board Member Doyle, Board Member Hemmings, just to make sure, I appreciate your questioning that, and it is acknowledged that it will be followed up on through requisite protocols, there are procedures. And then specifically with regard to the CDTM at hand, I heard that you didn't have.
Initially started, I didn't have anything to say about that.
Thank you. Member Beeman?
Member Beeman, I have no current comments on the rules.
Board Member Doyle, I do, have past experience dealing with CDTM, working in health systems. Everything stated here, save the last edition of para 7, is that being documenting the protocol version, seems within normal operating procedures of CDTM, and I appreciate hearing that it was the recommendation of the work group that had put this on, and also that it's surveyors are looking for this information. I have not practiced in this area for some years, and that's likely has developed since I left that practice in earnest. Board Member Chin?
Jen, appreciates the language. The only question I had is on the review minimally every 2 years. Consideration of language of adding or if principal pharmacist or healthcare provider is no longer part of that protocol team, that might be a time to review the protocol, because they're going to have to update who those people are, knowing that such a fluid situation in some environments where 2 years is a long time for somebody to sit in practice.
Member Hall?
Member Hall. Comments.
Member Joyce?
Board Member Joyce, I appreciate the details and the, how it's laid out. Healthcare systems and CDTMs are been around for a few years and have been shown to be successful. And I most definitely appreciate the details. I also want to say I want to thank Board Member Hemmings for just bringing that up. It was an awkward, very extremely rare. Never seen anything like that, but I also appreciate the follow-up that will be conducted. Thank you.
I believe we completed the round robin. One question, staff member Davis, one question that was brought up with regard to the personnel involved in these agreements. Is it correct that the only time that would be captured is potentially in those every 2-year cycles? That is the minimum review period?
As the rules currently written, that is correct.
Member Schnabel, might you have some experience?
Staff member Schnabel, yes, I have a little experience with this. That was the typical update cycle, was 2 years. There are many health systems that utilize collaborative drug therapy protocols extensively. And I think when I left Salem Hospital, there were 30 or 40 of them. And if one of the and then there's a group of providers, the medical staff. So, but the principal provider is typically the P&T committee chair and the clinical coordinator of the pharmacy. So if one of those individuals left, it might, if it required to review all of the protocols, it would be a tremendous workload, but they were reviewed kind of on a rotating basis every 2 years regardless. So I think with the versioning and the naming of the current PMT committee chair, clinical coordinator. With each update, I think it keeps them pretty current in that way.
Suffices for my concern.
Thank you.
Pausing for a moment for any other questions or concerns to be raised. Hearing none, that brings us to conclusion of the language in package C3. It is 3:16 p.m. We have the ability to run business on policy up until approximately 4 o'clock, when we'll then have to move into moving the items for approval to rulemaking hearing. Have a couple other business items and also public comment period that we're reserving approximately 10 minutes for. So in the next 45 minutes, it was recommended by staff to move on to C6.
Okay. C6. Let me get it pulled up. This is PIC qualifications and limitations. So this is the board's 6th review of rules related to the pharmacist in charge. At the August 2023 board meeting, the board adopted OAR 855-115-0200 PIC qualifications and limitations effective 3/1/2024. The new rule that was adopted in August 2023 does not currently include requirements for a PIC between the effective date of the rule, 3/1/2024, and July 1st, 2025. The current rule adopted also does not include limitations for a PIC. The proposed rule amendments add the PIC qualification and limitation requirements. Having these requirements for a PIC will help to ensure public protection. So the board today will consider sending the proposed rules to the November 2023 rulemaking hearing and potentially adopt in December to be effective with the new licensee rules on 3/1/2024. The markup in this package is in comparison to the current rules in Division 19. And then I do have a section that's in italics and bold, and that indicates language that is currently in the adopted rule and OAR 855-115-0200 that will be effective on 3/1/2024. So again, due to limitations in the state's rule filing system, OARD, the board cannot amend 855-115-0200 until on or after 3/1/2024. Thus, staff proposed to repeal the rule. How we will handle this is that we would do a suspension of the rule effective 3/1/2024. And then we would potentially have the board adopt a new rule in 855-115-0205. Since 0200 is locked and for like 4 or 5 more months. The proposed language retains most of the qualifications and limitations that are currently in Division 19 rules, with some modifications for consistency with current board practices. So some of what I'm about to say is going to feel like a repeat, and that's because it is a repeat. To start, we're adding an effective date for the rule for paren 1 to help distinguish it from the requirements that become effective that the board has already adopted July 1st, 2025 in paren 3. So the new paren 1 would read, effective March 1, 2024, in order to be a pharmacist in charge, a pharmacist must have, and these are our current requirements that you're seeing overlaid in 19-300, completed at least 1 year of pharmacy practice and completed a board-provided PIC training course either before the appointment or within 90 days after the appointment, and be employed by the outlet. So just a couple of quick changes. The board does not approve outside providers for the PIC class, so there's no board approval. It's just a provided course. And then the 90 days, we just felt like that's more consistent with what has been going on. Sometimes we don't offer the course. Sometimes somebody can't enroll in the course that's happening that month. We only hold it once a month. It's online. It's 3 hours, but 90 days felt more flexible for the licensee. In paren C, based on cases, we had previously proposed this language and then it just got lost when we were writing rules in real time. So we'd already discussed this, but that the PIC must be employed by the outlet and not a contractor for the outlet. This rule could be removed. It is not currently in rule, and it is we understand that that's a bit of an ask for a change, especially when we're trying not to make major changes. So that is definitely something we would like you to discuss. In paren 2, a pharmacist must not be designated PIC of more than 3 pharmacies. The following drug outlet types do not count towards this limit, and this is current language with a little bit of cleanup: prescription kiosk, prescription lockers. And then what you see as paren 3 is the exact same language that the board has already adopted into OAR 855-115-0200 at the August 2023 board meeting. However, starting with paren C, scroll down, staff member Melvin. Yep. This got left on the drawing room table by accident. So these rules were inadvertently left off when the rule was noticed for rulemaking and filed for adoption. The board discussed these rules, and staff do not believe that the board realized that C and D were inadvertently left out, as they were just accidentally not copied and pasted into the newly crafted rule that we developed for parts A and B during the board meeting at June 2023. So we're just bringing back the language that we think the board had intended to promulgate. So with that, I'm going to give it back to Board President Doyle to discuss.
Member Doyle, you are stopping descriptions, etc., as of lines 116. But there are 3 more lines of text, and then the rest of it is stricken. Are we commenting on the rule as a whole, all 6 pages, or are we commenting up only until line 119?
You're commenting through line 123.
Sorry, 122. Okay, thank you. Board Member Hemmons,
No comment.
Member Freeman,
No comment.
Member Doyle. I believe that the changes are in line with previous conversations and decisions made by the board. So no suggested changes to language or timing as described here. Board Member Chin.
Member Chin echoes, board member Doyle's comments.
Member Hall.
Member Hall, no comment.
Board Member Joyce.
Or just, yes, being employed by the outlet, I feel is mandatory. And all the other things look good.
Member Vipperman.
I have no comments.
In here in case there's any additional feedback. Seeing none, we'll close discussion on C6. Sorry. Just one moment.
Staff member Davis.
That Board Member Doyle, that was my mistake. Apologies. We went through 123, and so we're asking for Staff Member Davis to clarify all the way through 180.
Repeal of language. We're not keeping the remaining language.
Okay, Board Member Vipperman has a hand up. Please go ahead.
So this is board member Vipperman, and are we moving this language somewhere? Or are we just getting rid of it?
Yeah, no, great question. Staff member Davis. So Not all of the language, but there's a new rule that the board has already adopted, an OAR 855-115-0210, that is about the responsibilities of a pharmacist, and it has a long list of things they have to do, and that's where that language has already been moved. I was just showing this to you, overlaying it with the current rule, so to help facilitate conversation. But you've already moved the new qualifications for a pharmacist, or not qualifications, responsibilities of a pharmacist to 210.
This is board member Bipperman, but this is the responsibilities of a PIC, correct?
No, this is the qualifications rule.
For a PIC? Oh, the qualifications, that's different than what their duties are. And that's why
Correct,
we're that's why we're striking them from this part, but they're going into a different part. And my issue with is, where does it say in the rules now, the PIC must perform the following, must perform the controlled substance count, the PIP must complete the inspection. Is that somewhere else? And the reason I'm asking that is because when we did the technician rules, I thought all these went somewhere else and they did not. And I was surprised at that. And so I want to make sure that I don't lose anything in our document.
So Staff Member Davis, the board adopted 855-115-0210 at the last board meeting. It has the pharmacist in charge responsibilities, and it lists a whole bunch of different things: be engaged in pharmacy activities, be physically present, be responsible for conduct, ensure maintenance of records, continuous quality improvement, submit a plan for correction for observations and inspection, complete the self-inspection, do the controlled substance inventory. So that's where that list went, and it's a rule that's already adopted. It just doesn't become effective until March 1st.
Are there any other questions regarding this package? Hearing none, we'll draw closure to discussion on package C6. And I look to staff input with regard to next agenda item.
So this is Staff Member Davis. As much as I would really love to open compounding and have that conversation, that is at least a 2-hour discussion. And I really don't want to stop and start that discussion multiple times. We kind of opened it at the last board meeting. We're not going to have time today to really get all the way through it. And so what I would recommend potentially is to look at C12. This is kind of an update to the definitions division. And then at the next board meeting, the only thing we will have probably on the agenda is potential adoption of all the rules that were sent, the potential repeals, and then just conversation about compounding, which can occupy most of the board's discussion time at the December meeting, if that's okay with you. I'm happy to open it. I just hate to only have one very small conversation.
Remember, Doyle, you're saying you're happy to open compounding, but you're not wanting to have a small conversation.
I'd rather have the whole conversation and not just talk about part of one rule, which is all I think we would have time for.
Board Member Doyle, I just wanted to make sure that you were referring to compounding and not package C12. So
No.
you're ready to,
Yeah.
So let's move forward with discussing package C12. Staff Member Davis.
Give me just a minute. So C12 is this will be the board's first review of proposed rule language for revision of rules, to amend some existing definitions, to move a definition or two, and repeal a definition. So we're not going to consider sending these to rulemaking right now. We'll do that at the December board meeting, but it's helpful if we have some preliminary discussion so we kind of know if the board is on board with the changes that we are proposing. So yellow highlight indicates definitions with proposed changes, and this is a first review. So the markup is against the current definition. The first definition we propose to amend will be paren 8. This is a certified organ pharmacy technician. This means a person who has taken and passed a National Pharmacy Technician Certification examination offered by the Pharmacy Technician Certification Board, PTCB, or the National Health Career Association, NHA, and is licensed by the State Board of Pharmacy, who assists the pharmacist in the practice of pharmacy pursuant to the rules of the board. We recommend striking what is the rest of the language that is currently in the definition for 2 reasons. We propose to modify the definition by removing the reference to specialized education programs and removing the second sentence related to non-licensed personnel. ORS 689-499 defines a specialized education program, and it says that this program means a program for providing education to persons desiring licensure as pharmacy technicians that is approved by the board and offered by an accredited college or university that grants a 2-year degree upon successful completion of the program, or a program approved by the board and is designed to educate pharmacy technicians in one or more specific issues of patient health and safety that is offered by an organization recognized by the board as representing technicians, or pharmacists or technicians, an employer recognized by the board as representing pharmacists or pharmacy technicians, or a trade association recognized by the board as representing pharmacies. While the statute has been in place since 2005, the board has never required a specialized education program or approved any programs as permitted in the statute. Alternatively, the board has issued a COPT license to any technician who has taken and passed the National Pharmacy Technician Certification examination offered by PTCB or NHA. The second sentence related to non-licensed personnel does not belong in the definition of a COPT, nor is it currently included in the current definition of a pharmacy technician. Back to you, President Doyle, for board conversation.
Thank you, Board President Doyle speaking. So we're talking about para 8, the definition of COPT. Open to Board Member Beeman, please.
Member Bean, I have no comments at this time.
Member Doyle, it appears in line with the history of how COPTs have been given respective permissions and recognition by the board. This updated definition seems to be congruent with current practice and probably will lead to better management of the licensees and ease of staff workload as well. Board Member Chin.
Member Chin feels it's succinct, it's fine.
Member Hall.
Member Hall, I like what's written.
Member Joyce.
Board Member Joyce, I understand the language, and the clarity. I'll leave, I don't want to steal, Board Member Vickerman's thunder here, so go for it.
Member Vickerman.
Remember Bickerman. So I had in my notes, I was asking, can we please leave the specialized education program? And then you come up with all this stuff. So when this was put into rule, not that I have to tell anybody any history, but when I was put on the board, the requirements was going to be for the education piece that was going through legislation, and unfortunately that did not pass, which is why we have 2 technicians on the board. I'm not sure everybody knows that, but in 2016, that's what happened. And so that's why it says that specialty the specialty education program. I understand the definition that staff member Davis gave. I am asking to leave it in.
You, Board Member Hemmons,
No comment.
any other comments at this time? Member Beaman?
Thank you, Board Member Beeman. So Board Member Joyce said he didn't want to steal Board Member Viverman's thunder. Can I ask if you have a similar opinion on that statement?
I do support, and I've always supported the CPHT certification and advanced certification for technicians. My desire is in the future it becomes an associate degree, but we're talking years down the road. At this time, however, our goal has been recently and to prevent any barriers for technicians from getting relicensed or kind of limit those barriers towards licensing because of a staffing shortage. However, what I hear from the recent walkouts from Walgreens and the strike from Kaiser and CVS closures and CVS walkouts have been that the technicians coming in are not prepared. They're understaffed and undertrained. And oftentimes I'm hearing it over and over again that the technicians are not ready for the job market when they start their jobs. And it's because we're just requiring them to come in off the street and start working. And then they get their pharmacy tech license. And then that's it. You can become certified. It's not required anymore. With PTCB, you have all these different certifications. You can do their certification in classes, a class for vaccinations, MTM, history, all kinds of differentiation and certifications for that. And so it implies advanced training for technicians, and it prepares them to get into the job market and be more prepared. And so you don't have the pharmacist saying, oh, I'm getting all these other trained technicians. That's a lot of that is at the core of what we're hearing from stakeholders, from the pharmacies, is that we're understaffed and people are undertrained or insufficiently trained, or the techs are not prepared for the job market. So I've always supported CPHD. At this time, it's a challenging thing to do because we're addressing staffing shortages. So I don't know, maybe in the future I'll push for it harder, or maybe Board Member Riverman will try through Salem to get it done.
Floor's open for any additional comments. Hearing none, turn it back to Staff Member Davis for continuing with para 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna just skip over 9 and 10 because it's what we read when we were discussing mailing C3. So this would just be moving those into Division 6 eventually. Again, we're not making a motion at this board meeting. So then we can go on to the next one. Sorry, I've got to pull up my notes again. Wrong notes. I have 2 windows open. So skip those 2, 9 and 10. 11 will be covered when the board determines mailing C. So we'll revisit that at that time, but this would be the update that's consistent with what's shown in mailing C right now. We're in 14, counseling or counsel would be moving the definition that potentially gets adopted into 855.115.005 into Division 6. Rachel, if you can go down to 14, please. This is the same language that's currently being proposed, and we'll go through rulemaking again. DUR is per 19. It's the same language that will go through rulemaking again. Per 27 is the next change. This is the definition of an intern. we don't actually have the definition of intern currently in Division 6, which seems a little odd because we do mention interns in divisions other than the intern division. And so we would propose to move the definition out of Division 120, or even keep it the same, but have it in 2 places, and put it into Division 6 that's applicable across all divisions of rule. This is the same language that's already been adopted in 855.120.0005. And then the next change would be 34 and 35. These are the current definitions for oral counseling and DUR that would be repealed and replaced with the new definitions for counseling and DUR. And then in 39, pharmacy technician, propose a change very similar to the conversation we had earlier. For in 39, staff member Melvin. A pharmacy technician means a person licensed by the State Board of Pharmacy who assists in the practice of pharmacy pursuant to the rules of the board. And then paren 49, we would strike that. That's another definition for counseling that's currently on the books. We talked about this before. We have multiple definitions for counseling, so we would just have the one that the board has discussed. And then in paren 50, we recommend repealing this definition as it is a restatement of statute in ORS 689-499. The term is not used anywhere in our rules except in the definitions that we are proposing to amend and strike the language. And then I'm going to pause here to let the board discuss any of those possible changes.
Board Member Doyle, orienteering conversation around these next set of text within the rule. I believe it was my turn to begin, and I don't have any concerns with how things have been changed. Board Member Chin.
Member Chin has no comments.
Member Hall.
Member Hall, no comment.
Member Joyce.
Joyce, I'm good.
Member Vipperman.
Member Ribbon, okay,
Member Evans.
No comment.
Member Beeman.
Remember, if you can have no comments, right?
Hearing none, I believe that we can move on to the next text. For Staff Member Davis.
So this will be item number 54. This next definition we initially noticed with the board meeting mailings as a repeal, but after conferring with the Oregon Health Authority, board staff recommend just moving this definition into OAR 855.006.0005 instead of it standing separately in a rule that most people have probably never opened, 855.006.0015. Which is called additional definitions. And there are 2 definitions hiding over in that rule. And so today we're going to bring light to these definitions. As you know, generally the board does not enact rules related to billing requirements. The requirement for a tamper-resistant prescription is a billing requirement when billing CMS for a prescription that is on paper and not electronically transmitted. The board adopted this definition in 2007 as a temporary rule and then as a permanent rule in early 2008. I was trying to do some history on how did this come to be and why do we have this definition. The temporary rule justification stated that on August 17th, 2007, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Centers for Medicaid and State Operations issued a letter of guidance to state Medicaid agencies on Section 7002B of the U.S. Troop Readiness, Veterans Care, Katrina Recovery, and Iraq Accountability Appropriations Act of 2007 regarding the use of tamper-resistant prescription pads, which was signed into law May 25th, 2007. It amended the Social Security Act that affects payment and reimbursements on Medicaid prescriptions that do not meet the new federal requirement for tamper-resistant prescriptions. And essentially, the federal government said, CMS open card Medicaid directors, you must define what a tamper-resistant prescription is, and you must have this on your books if you want to get payment. So at the time, a tamper-resistant prescription was a new thing. I know a lot of us are very used to this being a thing, but the Board of Pharmacy was asked by OHA, which was back then, it was called DHS, to adopt a definition for the term because it's required for fee-for-service Medicaid programs. By law, OHP can only cover written prescriptions for pharmacy dispensed medications when the prescription is written on a tamper-resistant paper that meets industry standards. Board staff have discussed the proposed repeal of this definition with OHA, and they have asked us to leave it in rule at this time because OHA does not have a definition in their rules that define it. So the language shown in 54 is pretty much a duplicate of the rule that's hiding in that special rule number with no substantive changes to the definition. I did a little questioning and asking some of our board staff of the history of this, and they do believe that we just added it as the separate rule number because it was a temporary rule and they didn't want to renumber all the rules and definitions. But then when it was adopted as a permanent rule, it was never brought over. So we just say,
Staff
let's
member
bring it
Davis,
over.
you cut out. Can you restate what you just said? Sorry.
Other staff members
Yes,
have
starting
provided
here.
context and history
Okay.
that it was adopted into a separate rule number as a temporary rule because they didn't want to have to renumber this rule. But when it was adopted permanently, we're not really sure why it didn't get brought over and just renumbered. So we would like to just bring it over and get rid of that other random rule. So definition for tamper-resistant prescription. Then furthermore, at the same time that the tamper-resistant prescription definition was adopted, there was a definition adopted for an electronically transmitted prescription. There is no rulemaking history or discussion that staff could find on this definition, even historically from conversations, other than it seemed that if the tamper-resistant was needed for a written prescription, then something was needed to define a non-written prescription. And this is back in the day when this was all very new. So we have a term, electronic transmitted prescription. So the term electronically transmitted prescription, or ETP, is not used anywhere in OAR 855. We have a definition that has no rules that reference it. It appears the definition was developed as a merger between the statutory definition of electronically transmitted and the statutory definition of a prescription. So board staff do recommend repealing this rule or definition as the terms are separately defined in statute and electronic prescriptions are quite commonplace now. And I don't think we need to distinguish the difference between a paper and electronic prescription anymore. So we would move to repeal all of 855-006-0015 and then getting rid of the definition for electronically transmitted prescription and moving the definition for tamper-resistant into 006-0005. And that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions about these additional definitions?
Board Member Doyle speaking, Board Member Chin.
Member Chin supports the additional language and the repealing of the repealed language.
Member Hall.
Member Hall, no comment.
Board Member Joyce.
Sorry, Joyce, no additional comment.
Board Member Vipperman.
Board Member Vipperman, no comments.
Member Hemmings.
Comment.
Member Beeman.
Member Beeman, I'm good with the changes and I appreciate the history lesson.
Board Member Doyle, likewise, appreciate the background that was provided, which very effectively denoted the need for the change in definitions.
So you will not be motioning on this. We just wanted to get your feedback, impressions, see if we need to rework language. You will see this again at a future board meeting. So with that, Board Member Doyle, I don't have any other rule packages to go over. if you want to proceed with doing motions.
Member Doyle, I will proceed.
Oh, I'm sorry. For President Doyle, on mailing C3, that is also an as revised. Thank you. C1, it should be numerical. He'll start at C1. Okay.
Board Member Doyle, I realize that we have jumped around in packages. My intent, though, is to read them in numerical order, though. Is that okay with staff? Board Member Vipperman?
Board Member Peppermint. So I am wondering which one is for the, mailing 13? Which one does that encompass?
Staff member, Board Member Doyle, Staff Member Melvin will be showing it on the screen when we reach there near the end.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Board Member Doyle, the staff member Melvin, any further guidance, or Staff Member Davis?
Staff member Melvin, just a reminder, depending on the outcome of C3, those are regarding the definitions that are also posted in C13. So I'll keep my eye on it and we'll see what happens.
You have a change in the number for motioning. We have a change in the number of persons, board members in the room to vote. We have 7 board members in the room, and I just wanted to confirm that a consensus of 4 in favor is sufficient to send to the remaining.
To pass any motion, you would need 4 out of 7.
So we did not talk about package C, which is drug compounding, so we will first vote on package C1, which is vaccinations.
We do before President.
B4 was pulled from yesterday, and we won't be motioning on that. Again, package C1 vaccinations. I, Board Member Doyle, move to send proposed rules OAR 855-019-0270, OAR 855-019-0280, OAR 855-019-0290, OAR 855-025-0024, OAR 855-041-1040, and OAR 855-139-0600 as revised to the November 21st, 2023 rulemaking hearing.
Board Vice President Chin second.
Member Beaman, yes.
Member Hall, yes.
Member Hemmings, yes.
Board Member Joyce, yes.
Board Member Peppermint, yes.
Motion passes unanimously. We will now vote on package C2, also subtitled vaccinations. I, Board Member Doyle, move to send proposed rules OAR 855-115-0305 and OAR 855-125-0305 as revised to the November 21st, 2023 rulemaking hearing.
Vice President Chin second. Member Beaman, yes.
Member Hall, yes.
Member Hemmons, yes.
Brian Joyce, yes.
Member Vipperman, no.
Motion carries with Board Member Vipperman opposed. We now move on to package C3. C3 is also, this is known as the CPA CDTM package. I, Board Member Doyle, move to send proposed rule OAR 855-115-0315 as revised to the November 21st, 2023 rulemaking hearing.
Vice President Chin second. Member Beaman, yes.
Member Hall, yes.
Member Hemmons, yes.
Brian Joyce, yes.
Member Vipperman, yes.
Motion unanimously carries. Next, we will vote on package C4, also known as the RPIP alignment. I, Board Member Doyle, move to send proposed rules OAR 855-041-1010, OAR 855-041-1018, OAR 855-041-1019, OAR 855-041-1060, OAR 855-041-1105, OAR 855-041-1115, OAR 855-041-1190, and OAR 855-041-2115 as revised to the November 21st, 2023 rulemaking hearing.
Member Chin second. Member Beaman, yes.
Member Hall, no.
Member Hemmons, yes.
Brian Joyce, yes.
Member Vipperman, yes.
Motion carries with Board Member Hall opposed. Member Vipperman,
Board Member Vipperman. So we just went through a C4 package, is that right?
Member Doyle, yes, that's correct.
So in my, in my agenda here, you went through a lot of numbers and this one only has one.
I refer to staff for some assistance.
Staff Member Melvin, President Doyle has the correct version.
Okay,
President,
thank you. Okay.
Board Member
I
Vipperman.
just wanted to make sure that we were, right. Thank you for that. Great.
Well, thank you for bringing that to the attention of me and board staff. It sounds as if things, motions have been updated secondary to the work that we've been doing throughout the course of this 3-day period.
Thank you.
It is correct that we did not address package C5.
Yeah, they haven't finished it, no.
Yes. It's not as revised. You guys did not have any amendments.
Thank you.
Okay.
I, Board Member Doyle, move to send proposed rule OAR 855-080-0085 to the November 21st, 2023 rulemaking hearing.
Vice President Chin second. Member Beaman, yes.
Member Hall, yes.
Member Hemmons, yes.
Brian Joyce, yes.
Board Member Vipperman, yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Next up, we will vote to approve package C6, which is the PIC qualifications and limitations. I, Board Member Doyle, move to send proposed rules OAR 855-115-0200 and OAR 855-115-0205 to the November 21st, 2023 rulemaking hearing.
Board Vice President Chin second. Board Member Beaman, yes.
Board Member Hall, yes.
Board Member Hemmons, yes.
Or Joyce, yes.
Board Member Vipperman, yes.
Motion unanimously carries. Next, we will vote to approve package C7, also known as RPH supervision. Ed Board Member Doyle moved to send proposed rule OAR 855-115-0122 to the November 21st, 2023 rulemaking hearing.
Vice President Chin second. Board Member Beaman, yes.
Board Member Hall, yes.
Board Member Hemmons, yes.
Or Joyce, yes.
Board Member Vipperman, yes.
Unanimously carries. Next, we will vote on package C8, also known as pharmacy technicians prohibited practices. I, Board Member Doyle, move to send proposed rule OAR 855-125-0150 as revised to the November 21st, 2023 rulemaking hearing.
Vice President Chin second. Board Member Beaman, yes.
Board Member Hall, yes.
Board Member Hemmons, yes.
Or Joyce opposed.
Board Member Vipperman opposed.
Motion carries with board members Joyce and Vipperman opposed. Next, we will vote on package C9, which is pharmacist applicability. I, Board Member Doyle, move to send proposed rule OAR 855-115-0001 as revised to the November 21st, 2023 rulemaking hearing.
Board Vice President Chin second. Board Member Beaman, yes.
Board Member Hall abstain.
Board Member Hemmons, yes.
Or Joyce, yes.
Board Member Vipperman, yes.
Motion carries with board member Hall abstaining. The next move on to package C10, also described as pharmacist prescriptive authority. And that is inclusive of all the sub protocols denoted by small letters following C10, such as C10A. I, Board Member Doyle, move to send proposed rule OAR 855-020-0300 as revised to the November 21st, 2023 rulemaking hearing.
Vice President Chin second. Board Member Beaman, yes.
Member Hall, yes.
Board Member Hemmons, yes.
Or Joyce, yes.
Board Member Vipperman, yes.
Unanimously carries. The last of our votes to send to rulemaking is package C12. Definitions.
Oh, no, yeah, we're not voting on 11 or 12, just C13, and this is the one on the screen. Thank you.
Pause for a moment to everybody get oriented. screen.
Oh, let me share it with
Rachel, yeah.
Yeah,
There's nothing
there-
on our
there you go.
screen.
you. Got it. There you go.
That's the motion. That's not the rule.
I'm showing Board Member Doyle the motion
Okay.
because he doesn't have the motion in front of him. Are we asking to see the rule?
I thought that was what Cindy requested.
I am sorry. Let me pull the rule. Okay. Let me find the rule. Give me just a second. And then counseling down here. That's just me. Okay. Okay.
I, Board Member Beeman, move to send proposed rule OAR 855-115-0005 and OAR 855-115-0145 to the November 21st, 2023 rulemaking hearing.
Vice President Chin second.
Yes. Member Hemming here.
Board Member Joyce, yes.
Member Viverman, no.
Board Member Doyle, no.
Motion carries with Board Members Doyle and Viverman opposed.
Thank you very much for the assistance. We've concluded voting on all packages. We have to go back and make a correction from yesterday. If you will recall, we reviewed a couple different S bars, and in S bar mailing D3, we considered the intern renewal waiver. We need at this time to withdraw the motion that was made yesterday regarding the intern renewal waiver, as there was an incorrect citation listed in the original motion. The wrong OAR number was cited. So we are withdrawing and motioning with the correct number at this time. I, Board Member Doyle, move to withdraw the motion from October 12th, 2023 and to approve the request to waive OAR 855-031-0010 subpara 3 subpara C.
Vice President Chin second.
Member Beeman, yes.
Member Hall, yes. Member Hemmings, I don't know which one this is because there were two.
Board Member Doyle, this is the S bar labeled D3 with the intern having requested a waiver of the renewal such that, or waiver such that the renewal for the intern license can be granted. Yesterday, it was voted on unanimously, and this is a clerical error that we're trying to fix.
Member Hemmings, yes.
Board Member Joyce, yes.
Board Member Viverman, yes.
Motion unanimously carries. We now have come to public comment. period. And correct, yes, Rob Geddes was the first to have signed up. I believe he's absent now at this time. The second person having signed up is Victoria Kroger. You're welcome to come down here or follow staff member Melvin to the microphone at the table.
Hi, thank you. I am Victoria Kroger, as Ian said. I'm a manager for Walgreens on the pharmacy affairs team and very happy to get to address you all today. A little sad that not all of the board members are currently present, but really wanted to first of all, thank you for the discussion this week or these past few days. The questions, the concerns, the discussion has been probably some of the most robust that I have gotten to witness sitting and participating from afar through all of you. I did want to bring up a couple concerns as you guys move forward and think about the rules as we go forward. The discussions were great, but there's still a ton of confusion, even amongst this group, around the language, the intent, referencing, external sources like Merriam-Webster's dictionary to really understand what is the intent of these rules. And if within this group, within this room, if the intent isn't clear through this group, I don't know how outside of this room, the public is going to understand the intent. The other concern I have as well is as board members change, as staff change, as executive directors change, legal counsels change throughout the years, will that intent get lost when those changes happen? And so maybe it's clear right now, but it may not be in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. We don't know. And I think the impact on the public could be significant. The other thing I wanted to note is the comments and the reflection on hearing from the public. I appreciate that as a citizen of Oregon, a licensee of the board, that you want public input. However, the way that public input is currently used is one directional. It is not collaborative, and it is far too late within the process of rule writing to actually have the input from those key stakeholders, the people, the licensees that are actually ultimately impacted by those rules. So once again, thank you for the discussion. It was fabulous. I think all of your voices were heard, and I only encourage you to continue to review those rules and think about the unintended consequences of those rules as we continue to move forward. There's a lot of rule changes, a lot of shuffling happening, and the confusion, I think, is very clear within this room right now. And I fear that it will also continue to be confusing for the licensees, the pharmacists and technicians out there on the front lines, and the frustration that they may feel when not fully understanding what they can or can't do going forward. Thank you guys for the time today.
Thank you, Victoria Kroger. Our next public speaker is Dan Kennedy.
I think this is working. Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. For the record, my name is Dan Kennedy. I've been a registered pharmacist in Oregon for 30 years now. I've just recently retired. I'm a licensee in good standing, at least today. I just throw that in there. I've come to, and I'm also the president of OSPA. I've come to speak to you today about our formal request to repeal Rule 855-115-0150. I didn't attend yesterday, so if my information is erroneous, please let me know, clue me in. My understanding is that our petition to repeal said rule was denied by the board. Is that going forward for reconsideration?
That's not,
Someone has to speak.
Staff member Schnabel, that's not correct information. No,
It
it
is not.
was not denied. There was information provided to the board yesterday about their petition and the process moving forward. So
Good.
You're welcome to listen to the recording of the board meeting after it's posted, and you can hear everything that we said.
I just wanted to make sure my facts were clear before I stepped in with anything. I come to you today to speak really about the practice going forward, and will there be written comments that are available to the general public regarding 855-115-0150? And if so, when will those comments be due to the board, and will we have adequate time to supplement those?
This is staff member Schnabel. The board won't deliberate or respond to any questions or interact with you in public comment, but they will listen, and they are listening.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So yes, I just want to make the statement that we, OSPA as a board intends to move forward with this. And we will be supplying public comments at the appropriate time, at the appropriate place. And we will likely move forward with this. We feel that this is done in error, and we would like to see a review. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan Kennedy. I'm going to, if I recall correctly, we don't have other business that's otherwise planned, except for directions for what to do with our notes and adjourn the meeting. Is that correct?
Is there something?
Yeah.
This is staff member Schnabel. If I could make a short statement before we go.
Yes, please.
Okay.
But board member Doyle, I also had a one that I wanted to share, which I had said yesterday I would stick a pin in it until today. So please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. You can go before me if you like, or
No, thank
I'm
you.
happy to go now. All right. Well, I would like to thank the board members and staff for the opportunity to lead the Board of Pharmacy for the last 5 years. Of course, it was nothing like we had anticipated, but it was far more fascinating than we could have imagined. I will not try to recap our many accomplishments and not so accomplishments, but only wish you all the best in the coming years in your efforts to protect public health, safety, and welfare. I would like to thank my predecessors, Ruth Vanderveer, Gary Schnabel, Mark Watt, for their leadership and guidance. I'd also like to thank the board for all of their work in protecting the health, safety, and welfare of Oregonians, particularly members Beeman, DeBarmore, and Viverman, who've had to endure 3 executive director recruitments during their tenure. And I'm especially grateful to the hardworking and dedicated staff who've made coming to work every day interesting, rewarding, and fun. My responsibilities as executive director will end on Tuesday, October 24th. Thank you.
Board member Doyle, had I known it was going to be that, then I would have said, I'll go first. So, it has, recently, in the news, or board members are supplied information via board staff with regards to instances that occur in public that are generally held in, coming from public domains such as newspapers, et cetera, or other journal articles. And then during these last 4 weeks, it's been very volatile in pharmacy with regards to pharmacies closing secondary to pharmacists walking out, concerns for their safety, working conditions, and also patient safety. And this started at the end of September in Kansas City, if my data is correct, and has most recently this week been a development in Portland. And so yesterday also we had another comment is that we had we had convened a work group, the patient pharmacy practice safety work group. I may not be getting the exact name correct. They worked hard, brought together some recommendations for the board to review, and we promulgated some rules with regards to that topic. I forget the exact dates when the group had met, but it was at least 4 or 5 times over a multi-month period. And I reviewed today that the rules that we had approved went into effect in February. Now we are 8 months down the line with regard to those rules having been in place, and now we're experiencing these pharmacy walkouts. Yesterday, there was some information that was presented to us with regard to the rise in number of cases that we had. And it was presented to us in the vein of the board asking for our direction to give them approval or direction to move forward with trying to obtain another staff member in compliance. And we had recommended to board staff to look at that data for our upcoming strategic planning meeting coming up on the 8th and the 9th of November in Newport, Oregon. And that and we wanted to look at some root cause analyses with regard to that data. You know, why are we seeing such an increase? I've been thinking about that, and coupled with that is also, I believe that many of these are going to be complaints received by the board by members of the public or other licensees that we have that are concerned about the welfare as a general statement within the pharmacy. And so it is my opinion that I think it's time to put on the record, so to speak, a time or to recommend to board staff that we as a board want to again look at those safety rules again and see if there's anything else we can do to help address this problem that is affecting Oregonians. So I'm bringing this idea to you for your reflection. We're short on time, so I'm just asking for more or less a yes or a no if you think that this is a policy that needs to be visited sooner or later. And if so, then I can work to advocate with board staff to again make this a prioritization. So I'll go around in round robin fashion, starting with Board Vice President Chin for her reflections on my statements.
This is Board Vice President Chen. I do have those concerns and would support board staff finding time in our sooner than later on reconvening about safety and pharmacy.
Member Hall, absolutely.
Board Member Joyce, yes, as I mentioned earlier, workplace conditions are deteriorating and it has caused walkouts and closures. It has a huge impact on public health. The public needs access to pharmacies. The lines are long to get COVID shots. The lines are long to get their prescriptions. We, as the board, need to do something about it. So we definitely need to revisit that and see what we can do and hopefully be an impetus for positive change.
Board Member Vipperman, I am in agreement with that. You know, it has been since February, but it's been a year. I mean, it was we worked on those for a long time, and I just want to make sure that we that is known in public session that we started those rules long before they got re-looked at. So I appreciate the fact that now it got pushed aside and now we want to look at it a year in. I'm for that. I'm for patient safety 100%. And for keeping pharmacists in the pharmacies and technicians in the pharmacies and keeping them safe and keeping their mental health and well-being a priority. So yes.
Remember Evans?
Board Member Hemmings, yeah.
Member Beaman?
Member Beaman, yes.
Thank you. Board staff has the direction to, as soon as feasibly appropriate, considering your workload as well, and trying to incorporate this into the agenda of the strategic planning meeting, as we spoke of yesterday, through the PESTEL process or otherwise. And again, hopefully being able to have some discussion time reserved at our December board meeting. Staff Member Schnabel?
Staff member Schnabel, we have a meeting with the strategic planning facilitators on Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, sometime next week. So, and we will definitely be putting that forward as something that should be a focus of at least much of our time, or some of our time at the meeting.
Thank you very much. Again, at this time, I'd like to recognize Executive Director Schnabel for his steadfast work for the Board of Pharmacy. And we're just not talking about the past quasi 4 years. I don't have that earmarked. I was involved in the search committee that had brought his application forward. But he also has been a service to Oregonians in many years past, having been a board member and a board president. So in many different capacities has he helped protect the safety of Oregonians. So thank you again.
Thank you all.
Board Member Vipperman?
Yes, Board Member Bimmerman, I too want to thank you for all your service. So like through the years, not just here, but your 30 years at the hospital. I leaned on you a lot and I asked you a lot of questions and you answered everyone. Even when you didn't want to, I'm sure. And so I appreciate you. I hope you have a fabulous retirement and we will see him at the strategic planning. So thank you for everything that you have done for the service of Oregonians and the safety for all of my grandchildren and yours.
Before we adjourn, for board members who took written notes during the board meeting, please provide your written notes to Staff Member McLean. Staff Member McLean, if we have electronic notes that we've created in preparation, email those to you. Written notes or electronic notes, please add your name and today's date and confidential in quote or written at the top. If they were taken during executive session. If you would like to keep your written notes, please go to the board office before you depart the building today so that copies can be made for you. Yeah, and again, I guess I jumped the gun. If you took electronic notes outside of OneDrive, email your notes to aaron.s.mclean@bop.oregon.gov. I board member move to adjourn at 4:29 p.m.
Member Chin, second. Member Beaman, yes.
Member Hall, yes.
Member Cummings, yes.
For Joyce, yes.
Board Member Bimmerman, yes.
Thank you. We are adjourned.